Hello first year string players. This is a review of your last lesson, and today we're going to start on page 104. On this page there are 2 new notes, however we just focused on one this week because we only needed one for the piece that we were playing, and that's the note B. So you can see just on the top of page 104 is reading B, and that's what we'll be focusing on today. But before we look at reading the note B, let's review how to play the note B. So for violin, viola, and cello, you all play B the same way, which is by putting your first finger on the first sticker of the A string. This is exactly the same way that you play the note E on the D string. You're just over on the A string. And so this does add something extra that you have to think about. Not only do you have to know how many fingers the note gets and where to put those fingers, but now you have to think about which string the fingers are on too. And I know this is a new thing, it's something that will be challenging, and that's why we add just a little bit each week. So if you're keeping up with your practice at home, you should be able to catch on to this in no time. So one finger on the first sticker on the A string for violin, viola, and cello. Bass, yours is a little bit different. On G, if you put one finger down, that makes the note A. If you put 4 fingers down, that makes the note B. So 4 on G is B for bass. If we take a look at the worksheet reading B, it's going to look different depending on your instrument. So right now what I want you to do is look at your note, figure out is it a line or a space note, and which line or space is it. Remember, we count up from the bottom. And wherever that note B is, and by the way, obviously all of those notes are B, wherever that note is, every time you see that for your instrument, you will play it the way I just described. So either 1 on A for violin, viola, cello, or 4 on G for bass. Let's go through the first line and read our rhythm. Here we go. B, 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 rest. B, 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 rest. All right. If you'd like to, you can pause the video right now and practice doing that pizzicato. Just for the sake of time, because we have a lot to cover today, I am going to skip that step and just play it with my bow. So get yourself ready for the note B. It should sound like this. If it doesn't sound like that, you might have your finger in the wrong place, you might have your bow on the wrong string, so do all the things you need to do to get ready so that you can be successful when we play this. Here we go. 1 and 2, ready, here we go. Rest. Rest. Excellent. There is a second reading B rhythm. It's actually easier than the first one, so I'm going to leave that for you to do on your own. But go ahead and flip to page 105. This week we spent most of our time on the tune Twinkle, Twinkle, Little Star, which is like the melody to play on a string instrument. This is, I always joke and say, you're not a real string player until you have played Twinkle, Twinkle, Little Star. So this is a big deal that we are learning how to play this melody. So if we take a look at the music, at all of the music, you'll see that there are 4 measures of rest at the beginning, and then Twinkle, Twinkle, Little Star with notes and also words underneath. It says sing, we are not going to do that. And then at measure 17, there are 4 more measures of rest, and at 21, it says play with notes. I want you to know that these 2 sections of music are the same exact thing. One of them has lyrics written underneath, and the other one does not. So we're going to look at measure 5. I think it's a little bit easier to learn it with the words, so you can connect the words with the notes. But when we play it all the way through, it's the same thing 2 times. It's actually very similar to how the Peru Blue Boogie was the same thing 2 times. So let's take a look just at measures 5 and 6. This is Twinkle, Twinkle, Little Star, the beginning of that melody. And our notes are D, D, A, B, B, A. We practiced reading those in our lesson. D and A should be super easy to read because we've been reading those since the very beginning of playing a string instrument. And B is that new one that we just focused on. So except for bass, because bass, your A is now, that particular A is 1 finger on G, right? So you got to remember that. But for everyone else, this is all open strings except for B. So this should be pretty easy to play. It will sound like this. violin, viola, cello, I had that first finger hovered over where it needed to go down on the A string to make the note B. Let's try that one more time. Ready, and here we go. Excellent. The next part, how I wonder what you are. If we read our notes, we have G, G, F sharp, E, E, D. Now again, this applies to everyone except bass. I'm sorry, bass just is a little bit different sometimes, but for everybody else, this is one of the tricky things of this melody. You've just played an open A, and now you have to get to having all of your fingers down on the D string for the note for the word how, which is the note G. So I've played my A, and then I'm going to put down all of my fingers. It's 3 fingers for violin, viola, 4 fingers for cello for the note G, and then you basically go backwards and play all of the notes that you know on the D string. So G, G, F sharp, E, and D. So the tough part is getting those fingers down after you play that A half note for the word star. It's essential that you have your fingers hovered over where they need to go so that when it's time to put them down, you could just pop them down. And don't have them smushed together like this. Have them at the spacing that they need to be. So violins and violas, your second and third fingers should be close to each other. Cellos, your fingers should all have a little bit of a space between them, and they should be lined up over where they go on the fingerboard. And then bass, your part is a little bit different, but it's the same idea. You have open G, and you need to get ready to put 4 fingers down on the D string for F sharp. So for everyone, this is a challenging section. Let's play measures 5, 6, 7, and 8. I'm going to use my bow so you can hear it a little bit better. If you're still struggling with the notes, keep doing it pizzicato until you have the notes down. So starting from measure 5. 1, 2, ready, and here we go. Get all those fingers down. Here we go. That might take a little bit of practice to be really comfortable with that, but I will leave you to do that on your own, but make sure that it sounds like Twinkle Twinkle. One of the things I love about playing tunes that we know is you can recognize if you're not doing it correctly because it doesn't sound right. So hold yourself to a high standard and make sure that you're playing it the way that it should sound. Now we're going to skip for a minute to measure 13. Measures 13, 14, 15, and 16 should look familiar to you because they are the exact same thing that you just played. So Twinkle Twinkle starts with 4 measures of music and ends with the same 4 measures of music. So we've already learned measures 13, 14, 15, and 16. Now let's back up to measure 9, up above the world so high. This looks really similar to How I Wonder What You Are. It's that downward pattern of notes. You're going down, but you actually start on a different note. So you start on the note A. For everyone but bass, again, sorry bass, it's your open A string, and you have to be ready after those 2 A's to go over and again put all those fingers down on the D string. This time it will be harder. You have less time than you did between star and how. So you have to be ready. Up, this time, the lowest note is an E, 1 finger on the D string. You don't play open D during Up Above the World So High. Just going back real quick to bass, yours would be 1 finger on 1 finger on G, which is A, open G, 4 fingers on D, 1 finger on D. So you still have the same challenge, it just comes a little bit later. Let's play that again. Up Above the World So High, start on A. Ready, here we go. Up, G, don't accidentally keep going and play the D. I see that a lot with students. We stop on E. Now let's look at measures 11 and 12, Like a Diamond in the Sky. Take a look at those notes. Have you seen those before? Yes, you have. That's measures 9 and 10 again. It's just different words, right? And of course, we talked about this with hot cross buns, but different words doesn't really affect what we do with our instrument. We still play it the same way. So in your head, you can be saying the different lyrics, but you play it the same way. So A, G, F sharp, and E. So that's all of Twinkle Twinkle Little Star. There's a lot there, but there's also a lot of repetition. The first four measures are repeated again. They're the last four measures. And then that middle section is the same two measures repeated twice. And so you can go through and break this down into little sections and work on each section before you piece them all together. Let me play all the way through Twinkle Twinkle Little Star. If you're feeling like you can play it with me, you can. If not, you can pause and go back and practice those small sections. Remember, this is all about hovering those fingers. You won't be successful with this unless you have those fingers hovered and ready to put down when it's time to play them. So here I go all the way through Twinkle Twinkle. 1, 2, here we go. Excellent. All right, so this will be a good challenge for this week to be able to play all the way through this with confidence. Of course, you want to make sure that you're always keeping your eyes on the music. Sometimes some students will memorize this piece, but it's a good way to practice learning those notes, especially that new note B. So even if you haven't memorized, keep those eyes on the music as you're going through to help reinforce how to read those notes. All right, we will play through this next time, and I hope everyone has it down really, really well before our next lesson. So everyone have a great week. Work really hard on Twinkle Twinkle, and I'll see you guys in class.